Boom, recording in progress. What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Step Into Your Power with your host, Greg Pihs, and your co-host, Mike Cimorelli. What's up, brother? The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.
What's happening, dude? We got a good one for him today, don't we?
We sure do. I know. Yeah. We're both super pumped up today. We both had a powerful morning, and so we're ready to share some stuff. Today we're sharing with you guys in the spirit of stepping in your power. If you've already conquered stepping into your power, then you're past this. But because you're listening to this, just based off the title of this series, you are looking to step into your power. You're looking for that congruency, for that alignment, and for that confidence to be able to stand in your own 2 feet and share your story with people. One of the biggest things we face along that journey is the fear of rejection. And I'm projecting that. Maybe if you haven't, but I have. Mike, have you faced that along your journey?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, I was like, so have I. Yes, of course. I feel like actually the greater I step in, the more I step into greater alignment and the more I put myself out there, the more possibilities and chances are for rejection. And in fact, to Greg's point, the more that I'm doing things, right, the more I'm doing things of weight and of merit, the more possibility for rejection, because you have 2 factors that I can think of. One is there are people that will trigger them because they have shadow work. It's like, oh, I could have been doing that. I should have been doing that. I felt called to do that and I didn't have the courage. I didn't step into my power and do that. So therefore, let me reject this guy so I can feel better. And then the second part of that is because of the simple numbers game, you're out and about, right? The law of numbers, like the more people you put yourself in front of, the more positives and the more challenges there.
Yeah. I love that. I love you went in that direction. You've heard me share before, and so for everyone else that's getting to listen, I have this. I share this a lot frequently. I may have shared it already in past episodes because I share it very often with myself. I forget how, and maybe you guys somewhere along the journey, I go in and out. I forget how small I am. And what I mean by small, most people, whoa, you're big, you're powerful, step in your power, right? And I believe that. What I mean is, like, we start to think that the universe will, like, why'd that person do that to me? We are one of 8 billion people traveling on one of the smallest rocks in a galaxy of 1 of 2,600 that is known to man right now. Holy smokes. We're not that, it's so the realization is we are a very, very small part of a very, very, very larger picture. And so I remind myself frequently that there's 8 billion people on this planet. And if you had even 100 raving fans, you would be set in terms of socially, financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, not necessarily. You got some other work to do, right? But socially, financially, 100 Raven fans. I don't know because I haven't found a calculator and I'm not that bright yet. If we try to divide 100 into 8 billion, it's like 0.00000000001%. You don't need that many people to like you, and everyone individually has their model of the world, so they have to think something about you, and it's probably not accurate.
Yeah, I would almost offer to say that a lot of these, we could talk about, let's talk about rappers for a second. They seem to do really well with this, and also they don't. But let's talk about the good parts. They talk about, I got haters. Like haters is like a symbol of success.
Yeah.
These guys, a lot of these guys have reframed it like the more people that are hating on me, the more I know I'm on the right track.
Good point. And it's a reframe. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, how cool.
No, I think that's exceptional. I've seen a lot of successful people do it, and I think it's a great tool. I think it's a great tool.
Tool is a good word because that's necessary in some cases, and in other cases, it's still not the goal, right? It's like still labeling it as a negative.
Yeah.
But it's a reframe for a negative.
Yeah, and I mean, if you struggle, I mean, you could probably anyone could probably pick like that's a technique you can go out and use your life right now. Like your
Right.
haters are fuel, like right there. You can go out and use it. It's a reframe. Go use it. And if you're looking for examples of it, there's plenty of people. I mean, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone. I mean, name it. Go look at them. Like a lot of these big people have. Not everyone, but a lot of these big people have. I work. Well, I mean, no, I'm congruent with. I love. I mean, I've been in past chapters. The chapter that I'm in right now that I feel very congruent with and it feels really good for me is I tell people that I don't have any haters. I don't have any haters. And what I mean is there has to be in the 8 billion, I think, I'm projecting, there has to be some people that are not in alignment with what I'm doing. Why the hell does that mean they're hating on me? That just means they're human participating in this experience of life. Like
Well, so
I'm
that
not
would
in
be the next
alignment.
step.
If they're a hater, that means I have to be a hater. I'm not in alignment with everyone.
Here we go. Greg, explain this real quick.
Okay, I'll
Small
explain it in one
terms.
sentence. I'll
Real
explain it in one sentence. Perception is projection. We cannot see anything outside that we can't see inside.
in layman's terms, that means
Break it down a little bit smaller. Thank you.
break it down.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have identified, if you are the one that identified what equals a hater, and because you identified that, you have to evaluate, is there ever a place in your life that you did it? And if so, based on your own definition, that would then make you a hater, which most people put in that position, having that conversation would say, well, I'm not hating on them. Right. They're not hating on you.
Thank you.
They're just experiencing their reality. And some people you might say, no, no, no. Some people go out of their way and they're hating. Oh my gosh, they're that injured. They're that like fragile at the moment. Like, give them some grace. Well, I've been there. And I
Right.
think
They're
most
usually
listeners.
hating also. They're usually the quote unquote the word hating, but usually it's actually implied interest is implied. In other words, when someone is going out of their way to invest their time in making a what is perceived as negative comment on what you're doing, they're actually interested. If they weren't interested, it wouldn't be a thing.
Did
An
oh
interesting
good.
thing is on the other side of this wall, there was someone who was making fun of my motorcycle the other day. Now, whatever. I love my motorcycle. I think my motorcycle is badass. I love the way I built it. And he just had all these thoughts for why it wasn't a good bike. The guy's never been on it. And so I was like, okay, like, you know what's funny? I held space for this individual. He's a wealthy guy. And, he pulled up today in a Ferrari. It's getting rained on. But this individual was talking about how all these negative things about this thing that I really think is positive. So the old me probably would have said, oh no, like I need to compensate more so that I can get this validation. The new me says, wow, isn't it interesting? This person would spend so much time like analyzing this thing that has nothing to do with them. Isn't that something? I must have provided some sort of value one way or another. And that has made this person uncomfortable. And furthermore, I might even take a second to just say, hey, man, like if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. That person's probably going to respond in some way, shape, or form. But 1 second. I'm in a tunnel. But the reality is that when people present situations and thoughts like that in a perceived negative manner, they're just expressing interest in the way that they were shown. It's kind of like the person might have been raised by a parent when they did something really good, like say they made 13 baskets in a basketball game. They would say like, "Oh, why didn't you make 14?" And so
Yeah.
they have that model of the world, that program running in their head. It's like, oh, why
Man,
doesn't it do this? They actually might be excited and they might have a program in their head that doesn't yet show them how to express my wanted version of excitement.
I love it. I you know that charged two thoughts for me.
Let's
Um
hear
yeah, okay, let me write one down so I can get to the other.
them.
Yeah, or write one down so I can All right. So the first thing that I thought was really powerful, and I wanted to share with you guys, wanted to get vulnerable a little bit. You said that may have the old me, when you're talking about like, hey, this gentleman expressed his opinion, his viewpoint to the bike. You said the old me may have tried to compensate more, and you went on with the rest of your story. That resonated so heavy with me because I used to do that. So out of fear of rejection, I would compensate more. I was the first one at whatever the job was. I would make sure that I had the shittiest job to do. If there was the shortest shovel, I had the shortest shovel. And I was constantly overcompensating and punishing myself and giving myself the worst one so that people would have to then accept, like, no one had it worse than me, so then they have to be able to accept me, right? Because everyone had it easier than me, so I wanted to make sure that everyone around me had it easier than me. Holy shit, that means I had to live a life lesser than everyone. That's the only way everyone around me can have it better than
Wow.
me.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
lived that way. I lived that way. I'm just sharing this with you guys. I lived that way. It's brutal. Some of you are living that way. I'm projecting here. You might not identify it with that, but I'm projecting. You're free and clear. If you don't want this, reject it. Some of you might be living that way, and you don't have to. You don't have to. Dude, you want to give something on that? I got a note on this other thought. Do you want to give a kick out on that, and then I'll bring us in the other thought, or?
So I didn't specifically choose the shortest shovel in metaphorical terms. However, in parenting, that shows up actually right now. Thank you for bringing that up. So in parenting, sometimes I'll go, I'll scoop the poop, I'll do this, I'll do the dishes, right? And then I'm like, hey guys, like it's a twofold. One is like I'm leading by example, and I feel some negativity in there. Almost, I actually need to resonate, or I need to resolve that. It's like, hey, I did this. Why aren't you doing this? Right. And then another thing is like, because I did all these things first, you guys can't say that I didn't do these things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, that's actually not a healthy way to do it. I could just go home, throw the dishes in the dishwasher, and feel good about knowing that I cleaned up some dishes. I could
Boom.
use
That's
that
it.
energy to motivate me to do something else instead of having that like negative presence there, like, well, I did the fucking dishes today. So, you know what I mean? Like, where does that get us? I met an old man. Let me share this. I met
Yeah.
an old man named Buford the other day. He's been married for like 55
You know
years.
how I know he was an old man? Because his name was Buford.
His name was Buford. Yeah, no shit.
That's a pretty cool
Dude,
name,
and
though. It's
this
unique.
guy, he had wrinkles like this. And you know what that
That's
means?
awesome. He
He
smiled a
spent a lot
lot.
of time smiling. He had like smile wrinkles. What does that mean? So when he said, he's like, he opened his mouth and I wanted to listen. He said, sometimes, you know, my wife and I, we don't really have specific tasks. It's like she does the dishes, I do the dishes, I do the laundry, or I make the dinner, she makes the dinner. And you might ask, like, who does the dishes? Who makes dinner? You know what I have to say? Who cares? They get done. We support each other. If she's down, I'll help her out. If I'm down, I can
Love it.
help her out. Or sorry, if I'm down, she can help me out. And
Love it.
that's what a relationship is. It's about the positive part. It's not about flipping it around and say, well, what the fuck? Like I did the dishes 3 days in a row and you only did them twice. All that's going to breed is negativity. And there is merit in doing positive tasks, in serving. When you serve, in fact, let me blast this one out. A long time ago, I was talking to Greg about real estate. And both Greg and I do one thing very specifically in different ways, but it's the same thing that has brought a lot of deals and has nothing to do with real estate. Love on people,
That's right.
serve people. See a
That's
guy
right.
on the side of the road, see a lady on the side of the road in a minivan needs help changing a tire, fucking pull over real quick.
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to cost you? 6 minutes? Freaking
Do I
oomps.
gotta dive in. I love those opportunities. I'm just again, just being vulnerable with everyone. When I get those opportunities, first of all, notice the language, everyone. When I get those opportunities, I literally feel, and I'm just being vulnerable. I'm just peeling back, being raw with you guys. I feel like a freaking hero. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, the rest of these people are too busy to stop and help this woman. I got you.
right,
I got
right,
you. It
right.
feels
And
so good to be able to do that.
and
And we
especially in that position.
And not, well, just not just in, first of all, there is position in life that has been created to be able to do that with time. But the other thing is, like, forget all that. If you're like, I don't have the time, then fine. You're the one that I might be helping you. Okay. And if you're that, if you don't have the time, the law of receptivity, allow yourself to receive in that moment. But the other thing is that I want to share with you is not about time and money as much as it is about mindset.
Sure.
Mindset creates the time and money.
Sure.
So if you had the time and money, there's plenty of people. I have plenty of friends, and they are my friends, that have plenty of time and money that would not stop for that. Are you crazy? That woman should have had AAA. So it's not about the
Right.
money and time. It's about the
Yeah.
mindset that allows us to do it.
Let me tag into that. About an hour ago, I shared a story with someone's 11-year-old boy. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but simply the story made an impact on this boy. Like I think pretty good impact. I have a talent or a gift for that, which is like mentoring young guys because I have had both the really bad and the really good ends. And I had the blessing of having a good role model to look up to. And then I know what it's like to ignore that person. And I know what it's like to grab those examples and then to look around for, like, we have father figures that pop up in our life that are not our father. They pop up all over the place. It doesn't have to be your dad. It's like, dude, you could
Mm-hmm.
be at the coffee shop and there's a wise old guy that says some stuff to you. That's like a father figure, a guy that's way ahead of you, that's a few steps ahead. You know, we talk about this on the show a lot. Step into your power. There's going to be people that are a step behind you and you're called to serve. And there's people that are a step or two or 10 ahead of you and they're called to serve. And you need to
And
be
be
open
receptive.
and
Yep.
also, yes, and also generous. And so when I shared this, I just kind of dropped it, and I was in kind of a hurry too. I was like setting some stuff up. And the gentleman comes up to me, hands me his business card, and literally gives me an opportunity that I've wanted since I was probably like 5. I
What?
was like,
That's
what?
wild.
It's like literally an opportunity. Like you can see the look on my face and the physiology that I have that just changed. I'm like, I texted Chelsea and I was like, hey, babe, like, no,
That's awesome.
feel like a little kid right now. And she's going to say, yes, this is amazing. Anyway, long story short, though, um, whoa, it all came from like giving just real quick and nothing involved. And I was running out of time. You know, how I talk about time, like I was short, I was late for this call, not because of that. I was actually late for this call because of the internet. So I'm standing here in a tunnel. I had a cool background and a cool setup for you guys. And the point was, is that could have ruined my show. And instead, I'm here in this tunnel, and other people that are walking by get to listen to us talk about stepping into your power and giving back to people and being a good steward of time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I'm gonna take an opportunity to dive back into
Jump on it.
that second thought that I had.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna share with, again, feeling vulnerable today. I'm just gonna share with everyone an experience that I had. This is recent, within the last year. I say
Okay.
recent. I mean, it's a couple months old. I've shared it with you in the past once. Whether well, in a group setting, so it might be fresh again. You know, who knows? But so there's this gentleman that was I am currently friends with on Facebook. And so this gentleman was very bold in a lot of the posts that were made. And I caught myself, like, once I like scroll past and I'm like, huh? You know, and then like another day and I'm like, what is this person talking about? And you know, and then it got to the point where I was like, I am tired of seeing this. I'm about to delete this person. I did say we're still friends on Facebook. I got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of seeing this. I'm deleting this person. Which, by the way, if you ever get there, you're just allowed to delete that person. Okay, you don't have to do what I'm doing. This is just a story that happened to take place in my life. So I thought before, because I'm on this journey of stepping into my power, I thought before I deleted this person, Greg, is there any shadow work you have to do here? And of course I was like, no way, not me. No, I know, I know, I'm serious. I thought, is there any shadow work? This is just what happened, just sharing what happened. I thought, is there any shadow work that needs to be done here before we can delete this human off this account? Is there any shadow work that has to be done here? Like, why this human actually did nothing to you? Why can you experience this? Why am I capable of experiencing this? If I believe perception is projection, and I can see nothing outside that I can't see inside, why can I see this? is what I thought to myself. So I said, huh, there's something there. And I went through a process and I thought to myself, I said, you know, I mean, I had to get really raw with myself because we're good at bullshitting ourselves. I mean, like exceptional at it. So I had to get really raw with myself. And what I came up with was this person was willing to make, what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing. This person was willing, had the courage and the audacity to make polarizing statements that helped him garner attention. Oh, I actually said the sex is a male now. I was trying to say person the whole time. Helped him garner further attention. And so I was jealous that he was using courage to do something that I wasn't willing to do to garner attention that I wasn't garnering.
Oh,
Just being real
oh.
raw with y'all. Just being
Well,
real
wait,
raw.
so can we talk about that just for a second for the
Unpack it.
listener?
Send it. Yeah.
So, okay, was there a part of you that was like, wow, like I wish I had what to do that?
No, 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 no. Well, no, no. In the end, what I came to was what I asked myself at that point. Everything I just said, I asked myself. I said, well, you can just make polarizing statements. And then I said, but I don't want to make polarizing statements. And then I thought to myself, but he can. And I was like, okay. I don't have a desire to make polarizing statements. I don't make polarizing statements. I mean, generally speaking,
And you
generally
don't have a
speaking.
desire to
And I
make
don't have a
poll.
desire to, but he's allowed to. And I don't have to fucking delete him. He's just
So
allowed to
what,
do that.
yeah, what part of you, I would say, what part
Got
of you
excited there.
triggered the shadow work? Yes, you're right.
I do. And that stuff excites me. It does. What triggered the shadow work? I don't know that I have a definitive, but I think it's just because I'm actively on my discovery journey, my personal discovery journey. So because I'm active on the journey, the autopilot program kicks in a lot for me. Do you have, if every problem you're facing, I'm suggesting, I was talking to a group of realtors yesterday and they were saying, well, what about when the client does, what if the client thinks this? I said, well, the client only thinks that because you think that, or you wouldn't be able to see that the client thinks that. Now, there's a whole nother conversation to unpack. But what I'm getting at is every problem I believe right now in my life, I've adopted. Okay, we don't, you know, if you want it, every problem that you face, every problem, financial, business, personal, is internal, is shadow work because you can only see that problem always existed. That same problem exists for other people. Too much money, not enough money, child support, alimony, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But somehow it's a problem for you, but it's not a problem for all the other people that are experiencing it. So how did I realize what triggered the shadow work? I think maybe not just. I think because I'm actively on the personal discovery journey. I don't know for sure, but that's where I would place my guess.
Okay, I would, so I'm, I, I resonate with that. And also I would say for the listener, even like the highly skilled listener, um, I would encourage you to walk down, because I'm not at that level yet. Usually when it's something that bugs me, there is shadow work there. There is either a person that does that to me, which may be where you're at, or I do that. So shadow work is twofold. It's like either I allow people in my life that do this, and therefore that can trigger shadow work or a dive into shadow work, or I do this personally. So not necessarily I'm aware and awakened to this, which I am also. But you know, when you say this person's using polarizing statements, you used an example of that when I was doing the NLP practitioner program with you, which I highly recommend. Anyway, you said specifically, you know, there's also polarizing statements, and polarizing statements will show you who's on that train and who's on this one real fast. And so, and they can have a lot of negative and a lot of fallout because there can be just a lot of toxic engagement involved in that. And with that said, just because I'm not necessarily making those statements, which I do make polarizing statements, and I like polarizing statements. But with that said, the shadow work can also be, okay, I have someone in my life that does this thing that I specifically choose not to do. And either I have an attachment or something in my heart to this person, right? Or I do it myself. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, 100%. And I have had plenty of negative experiences in my past of polarizing statements. I didn't understand prior to the level of ascension I currently had when people made now when I say polarizing statements, I think because that's a label, I'm going to clarify specifically what Greg implies. Because in order for your people to show it, like people have to know that I'm about the love and the peace and the I'm about, so I have to tell people what I'm about. The statements that I am not a fan of, and again, I literally respect, this guy is still on my feed. I respect those that do their way, is when we outcast the other side.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay.
if we say trains are great to ride, well then I make polarized statements. But when we say you're a pussy if you don't, there might be a guy
Sure.
named
Oh,
there
you
might be a
mean
guy
like a
that starts
polar-
with D and ends with Avit and has a last name of God. Those kind of polarizing statements, like if you don't do this, you're and I'm like,
right,
those rub me
right,
wrong. Those rub me really
right.
wrong.
Hey, motherfucker, if you're not running 30 miles every day, then
Well,
you're a
and then
bitch.
and then what you said, I just want to give extreme credit to what you said because there's a lot of value there. I had people earlier in my life that used polarized statements that when I was younger, I adopted, and later on I found out how dangerous those were. So I have like a lot of away from energy towards them. So I wanted to give credit to what you said that, hey, this is something that you're doing and don't want to be doing, or someone's doing it to you and you don't want it done. There's a lot of value there when you're realizing your shadow work.
Totally. Let's drop, we got a few minutes left. Let's drop a few actionable steps and tools that people can use. The one about the haters, let's call that the haterade, right? I
Hmm.
measure my success on the fact that people are expressing disapproval or perceived disapproval for what I'm doing is a better way to look at it. But we can summarize that with perceived haters or disapprovers. But what are some things like, I didn't say this earlier, but like my fingers got a lot of comments when I was a kid. Like when I would sit in front of school and raise my hand, right? Or in a class, I'd raise my hand and people, I would never do that in the front. Once I did that a few
Mm,
times, I heard people behind me laughing. I experienced perceived disapproval.
mm.
And imagine like how much hurt you'd have to be under to literally laugh at another kid for being different than you.
And while I want to die, I even want to suggest possibly, definitely, what you just said, yes. I even want to suggest possibly just putting it out there. Remember, like everyone has a model of the world. Like literally think back to, and it's hard, but like I'm not sure what age we're talking about. Like if we're at like 12, 13, we knew better. But if we're at like 5 or 6, like Xander is 7, his development's a little bit behind. He's 7. He'll laugh at things that are inappropriate sometimes. He's
No,
not
I get that.
grasping. He's not grasping. So depending on the age, some of these kids may have found your hands funny because they found your hands funny only because they never had to walk around with them.
I mean, and I do get that. And I probably didn't know those at the time.
Oh,
And also, there were ones that were specifically slurs. You know, like they
yeah,
would
I
go
can
further
imagine.
into call me names. You know what I mean?
They were
Afterwards,
getting enjoyment out of it, which
enjoyment.
they were
Right?
right,
You
right,
get
right.
that.
That's in yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude,
You
tell
know
us
what's
so
funny
tell us a
though?
little, yeah, tell us a little bit
I
about
want
that,
to
man. I
tell you
can't
the
imagine.
positives. I want to tell you the positives that I now see out of that.
Please.
Number one is the more people would put me down, the more people would befriend me. It's like, oh,
Wow.
like, I don't think you're weird because of that. In fact, because this person's doing that, I want to go and take a step forward and say, hey, man, I'll be your friend. I want to be your friend. I like where your heart's at. I like the things that you say. You're funny. You're nice. You're this, you're that. Oh,
That's
okay.
awesome.
Back then, though, it was still this comment over here was still ringing in my head. So it was harder to see. But looking at it now, if I could encourage the listener, take those things and enjoy them. Enjoy these positives over here, and then choose to let these things just slip away. So
Wow.
that was the first thing. The second thing was you're only going to be offended, perceived offense, if you allow it. In other words, if you called me ugly, I don't think I'm ugly. So I'm going to be like, okay. If you called me dumb, I don't think I'm dumb. I'm like, okay. If you made
Yeah.
fun of my motorcycle, well, I love my motorcycle. If you made fun
Right.
of my wife, I might punch you in the face, but I'm still not going to be offended. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, there's a lot of things that once you decide to become congruent and accept and then love, your life change. Oh, let me drop the bomb now. If you don't like something about yourself, it's actually a good indicator. Like if you're like, man, I'm feeling just really overweight, and like, you don't have to accept a lack. In other words, I made a conscious decision to stop drinking soda, to stop smoking cigarettes, to start going to the gym, to start eating greens, to start eating more protein, to start taking supplements. And I lost 60 pounds. And then guess what? Instead of having that thing there, that incongruency that I didn't like, that I was insecure about, that there was haters, guess what? Now I got to turn it into a positive. So the two things are, if you're perceiving that someone is rejecting you, right? You're experiencing rejection in a certain area, ask yourself, is that something I'm congruent with? Is that just a perception? Okay, yeah, I actually really like that thing. Okay, great. You're on the right track. And then also, if they're right, it's actually like it's someone that's just coming into your life to move your sights over a little bit, because actually inside you, you're begging for people to come and give you the motivation it takes. And it's actually, you're looking externally for it. So just notice that and say, oh, yeah, I don't want to look like that. I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to talk like that. And use that, because if it actually bugs you, it's because you're doing something that you don't like, or you're not in congruency with. What do you
Dude,
got?
what do I have? We're wrapping up on that right there. I mean, that's everything. Listen, you guys go back and play that again. Listen to what he said. We are creating the value, whether it's good or bad. We are the assigner of the value. I appreciate everything you said, Mike. This was a really incredible. I think we always do. Always love our episodes. Always bring great energy. Today had a really unique vibe to it. I know that I took a lot away from it, and I know the listeners are too. I really appreciate getting to have you as a co-host, Mike.
Yeah,
Um,
I
Go ahead and
love you, man.
sign us off, brother. We'll see him next week. You go ahead.
So here we go, guys. Check it out. And first of all, I want to plant this. I don't want the stepping into your power to end. So we're gonna do some sort of other name if Greg wants to. I'm like, let's do another podcast series after this, like series 2. But second of all, guys, I would love to support you, and so would Greg. I know this about him. We would love to support you on your actionable steps. Do you have any takeaways from this? Is there anything that you need? Is there anything you feel incongruency with? I don't like my job. I don't like my physical health status. I don't like the way that I dress. I don't like the lack of knowledge that I have around psychology, or around business, or around relationships. Is there some area in there that these maybe these negative things that you're getting back are actually positive signals that you can grow? If so, drop it into the chat, send us a DM. We would love to support you.
I
Over and
love it.
out.
I love it. Be great. It's already in you. We'll see you guys next week. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.